All of a sudden I see a coyote just cross the road on a hightail run, running for all it's worth with its tail tucked between its legs. And so when I seen that, I'm like, okay, what are you running from? Five seconds after that, what I thought, and still what I would think that it was a bear, except it had a head of a dog, like a wolf. It was running with the agility of a dog. As soon as its paws or legs or whatnot hit the white line on the shoulder of the road, it leaped from the shoulder of the road over that fence, and then took about another 3 more leaps, and it was gone off in the woods, maybe about a good 300 feet.
This is the Cryptid Creatures Podcast. I am Brian, and with me, as always, is my co-host Todd. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man, not too much. Hope all is well with you. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Tonight's guest is Jeff, and Jeff saw our favorite cryptid in the world, Brian, dogman.
Dogman.
He says he saw something chasing a coyote or something, I believe, and he's going to describe what he saw to us. So,
okay. All right. Well, I'm excited.
Let's not waste any more time. Let's bring him on.
Yep, let's get him.
How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Jeff, thanks for being on the show tonight.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Are you from Indiana? Is that right?
No, I live in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been a truck driver for 23 years. Yeah, 23 years now. Moved up here to Kentucky 15, 16 years ago with my job, and I was driving for UPS at the time, running back and forth between Louisville and Chicago.
Oh, wow.
So
that's a good trek.
Well, that was at the time. Yeah, that was about a 5.5 hour drive one way. So it wasn't too bad, except for during the winter times. Winter times it could get bad at that time. But that one specific night with I guess it was the dogman. It was on a Saturday night, about around 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I had gotten up to just past Lafayette, Indiana on 65. It was around, I want to say, between the 183 and 185 mile marker, somewhere in that area. And as I was driving that night, I sit there. There was no traffic, that I could see any headlights coming from southbound, because I'm heading north. No lights behind me, so I'm basically the only one out on the road at the time. And running from west to east, so coming from my left to my right, all of a sudden I see a coyote just cross the road on a hightail run, running for all it's worth with its tail tucked between its legs. And so when I seen that, I'm like, okay, what are you running from? And about I would say maybe 3-5 seconds after that, what I thought, initial thought, and still what I would think that it was a bear, except it had a head of a dog, like a wolf or whatnot, but it was running with the agility of a dog. So that's the only thing. If it wasn't for how it was running with the agility of the dog, I would still swear that it was a bear. It was like a dark brownish red color on the fur or whatnot. But as soon, and I don't think this dog man had ever actually paid me any mind. I didn't get no fear or whatnot or anything from it. It was just like, I'm just like, what is this I'm looking at? And as soon as its paws or legs or whatnot hit the white line on the shoulder of the road, it leaped. And on the interstates, about 50 to 75 feet or yards or however distance it is. They got that they have that fence that runs alongside the interstate. Well, it leaped from the shoulder of the road over that fence, and then took about another 3 more leaps, and it was gone off into the woods, maybe about a good 300 feet off to my right. Because because when I first seen it come off from my left, I actually hit my brakes because I thought I was it was something running out in front of me, so I was trying to avoid a collision or whatnot. So as I'm slowing down, it's giving me the time that I could see it. And it was also it was also one of those clear nights with the full moon. So it was extremely bright out, and you could see, the fields were lit up, so I could see it go off into the woods, the tree line, well distance off. But I think as soon as it seen me and hit the shoulder, it broke all of its attention off of the coyote. I lost where the coyote went, but I was still astonished. I was like, what did I just see or witness? Because that's really one animal I have never seen in the wild on the road is a bear. So, but if it wasn't for because I watched videos of how bears run, they have like a stiff, rigid in their arms and whatnot when they're running. They're not agile like a dog, like a canine running. And this was running with the agility of a dog.
Yeah, bears aren't jumping over fences either.
No, and not like that. Not in a leap like
not like
that.
Anyway, yeah.
So that was my encounter of what I witnessed with the dogman. And that's the only time I've seen it. It was right there in Lafayette, and that was back around, I want to say it was around 2010 when I'd seen that. It was back there. And I was listening to Coast AM about 4 or 5 years later. And I heard, George Knapp had a guy call in and describe the same exact thing I saw. It was around the same time. It described the same exact thing that I had saw up there in the Lafayette area.
So how far away do you think you were from this creature at the closest?
At the closest, I want to say maybe about 50 feet, because you're going by because it was outside, just at the furthest end of my headlight spray. So in the time of the traveling 68 mile an hour, going, you cover quite a big distance on that. I actually thought I might have even been closer than that, but I thought I was actually going to, hit it. Well, obviously I was hoping for it to continue on across the road and not stop. But with any type of wildlife, you don't know if they're just going to stop in the middle of the road in front of you or not, especially at nighttime when there's nobody around.
Did you get a good enough look at it to give us a decent description from head to toe?
Not like that, is other than, it's not like, because it happened so quick. And just like I said, all I could really say is that it looked like a bear. Yeah, with the head of a dog. I didn't get no real features of the head, or what the head looked like. I just, but then again too, some bears do have the head of a dog that looks like a dog, from certain angles or whatnot. That may have been what I'd seen. But
did you notice if I had a tail?
That one I don't recall. I don't recall if it had a tail or not. I've been, knowing that I was going to be coming on and speaking with you guys, I've been, going over my head, but no, I don't recall if it had a tail or not. Because that's why I continue to say that if it wasn't for how it was running, I would say that it was a bear. But how it ran that's what had gotten me. That wasn't a bear, because bears don't run like that. It's like, what exactly was it I saw? So, but that was it with the dog man on that. I would say that the hair on it, because it was maybe 3 or 4 inches long hanging off of it, because I do remember seeing the hair, kind of flowing off of it a little bit, but but everything and on its size, it was all proportionate. Just like I said, just proportionate to a bear.
Did you notice
But
its front arms or legs? Did it have longer front appendages than the rear? And did you notice maybe it had more like hands than it did paws? Or did you get a good look at any of that?
no, I didn't really wasn't able to get a good look on that. Because from the distance I was back, maybe about 50 feet, 75 feet, I was getting close. To me, it seemed like I was getting close from the point of being in the truck. It looked like just like the front arms of a bear to me is what it looked like. Wasn't able to get no good description and view. Like if it had other people have described that they have like a raccoon hands or whatnot. No, I didn't get no good view of that. It looked all proportionate to a bear in the body, head of a dog. That's why I said, like I said, I just totally thought that I was looking at a bear. But it really just sticks down to something that size, like the size of a bear, running like a dog with the agility of a dog, not stiff and rigid like bears, normally run.
Would a bear even chase a coyote? Because bears don't care for dogs, period. Would a bear even chase a coyote?
That one, I don't know. They might, just to get it out of its area, but not on a. I don't think on a distance run. Not as like a predatory prey type situation, which is that's what this was a predatory prey type situation. It was chasing after the coyote as for its meal. And I don't think bears would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was on a mission, huh?
Right. And then when it cut right in front of me, then that's when I distracted it from its original mission.
Well, if it had a head like a dog and it ran like a dog, but it was the size and looked like a bear, I mean, it had to have been a dogman, I would guess. Have you looked at other pictures of dogmen that look similar to what you've seen? Or?
No, not really on the dogman. The only thing that I can actually kind of, from my visual on it that I can recollect and what it actually kind of looked like to me was that famous video of that dire wolf that was chasing the dog up there. Was that British Columbia or whatnot? It kind of resembled that, from a distance. But that's the closest thing I can get, because it was down on all fours and never got up on twos or anything like that. I wish I could have a better description of it, but when you're as well as when you're driving, things tend to go, especially as I might have been able to get a little bit better description if I wasn't the driver, because when you're the driver, you got more going on as opposed to when you're in the passenger side seat.
If you were driving up in Canada, maybe it could have been a dire wolf, but you're in Indiana.
Right.
I don't think there's wolves, let alone dire wolves, there, unless someone had one, raised it, and it got loose. But
yeah, even a timber wolf, I've never heard of them being in Indiana. I remember hearing a couple of years ago that some gray wolves in the eastern part of Kentucky were starting to make a comeback in the wilderness or whatnot. But yeah, this I would say it was actually a lot larger than what a wolf would be. I've never heard of a wolf getting the size of a bear.
We've heard a lot of encounters going on in that area, Lafayette, down toward Terre Haute, and then you get into Brown County, which is full of encounters of all kinds of things. And I was looking on a map. Basically, there's two rivers that run into each other. There's the Wabash River and the Tippecanoe River, and those also meet and form the Wabash River.
Yeah.
So, and along those, we've always said that we think creatures travel the rivers because it's a way for them to hide. So I can see kind of a pattern of the way those rivers come together and go down through, kind of reach into a lot more heavy wooded area closer to Terre Haute. And they might be using that area as a passway through to get down to more wooded areas. Who knows?
Well, for them, the rivers and waterways would be more like a highway system, like we travel on our interstates and highways and streets and stuff like that. It's just they are able to do that because stay hidden.
Yeah, and there's food along the way. There's all kinds of fish and little creatures down getting water and who knows what. So it makes sense. You think if you would get in a canoe and just travel a bunch of riverways that you could eventually see something.
Oh, I imagine you probably would. You would see a lot of stuff that you normally wouldn't see. Because I do know it was a couple years later, or maybe it might have even been that. I know it was in the winter time. It might have been that following winter, right there on the Wabash River. I was crossing in Lafayette. I was going north up to Chicago. I was crossing the bridge, was crossing the Wabash, and I think I had my son in the truck with me at the time. And it was another clear night, full moon, snow on the ground. So how you can see through the trees and everything like this. So what normally would be hidden is now visible. Yeah, we were crossing the Wabash River and I saw Bigfoot down there walking through the trees. It was staying inside the tree line, so we weren't. It thought it was been hidden, but with the snow on the ground and the moonlight, everything was visible, and all you could see is this tall shadow walking through, grabbing the trees, but it was staying inside the tree line. So it thought, I would assume that it thought that it was hidden, but we were able to see. And I pointed out to my son, and my son's like, "Is that what I think it is?" I was like, "I do believe so." It's like, what else could it be?
That's cool.
But that was also right there in Lafayette.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see one of them walking through woods like that. I mean, you would think if we were walking through woods like that and we're staying in the tree line, even though the moon's out and there's moonlight, you would think no one was going to see us there, right?
Right. And that was one of the only times that I've actually, I thought I've seen shadows and stuff like that of Bigfoot, in the trees, as driving by, but that was the only time that I've actually got a clear view of actually seeing something walking in the woods, through the tree line, because the distance I would say from that was at least 200 feet. And then plus we're up on a bridge going over, looking down. So I thought it was concealed, but it was something that we were able to see through the trees because of how bright it was.
You said that was in Lafayette as well.
Yes. Yeah. Crossing the Wabash River.
Well, that's interesting. What else? Have you seen anything else weird while you've been on the road? How long have you been driving truck?
Yeah. I've been driving for 23 years. I know it was only a creepy incident, because I've heard you talk about when we're talking about dogmans, is that one of the reasons why you don't like the dogman is because of howling. The howling that ruined it for you as a kid.
You got it.
Same way with me. Same way with me. But I think it was my very first load by myself after being off of a trainer's truck. I gotten a load up to Avoca, Iowa, and I was in this real small town, and I got in there just maybe about 15 minutes too late for them to unload me. And so I just parked right there in the parking lot. I believe I was delivering to a Dollar General. But it was like a real small community, Dollar General Plaza right there. And then right directly in front of my truck where I was parked, or my truck was facing, was like a little old barn type, firehouse or whatnot. So I laid down, I'm reading a book because I don't have any other type of entertainment. I don't have a TV or whatnot. I just got the truck. And I look back up at about 6:00, and by this time it is already dark. And you look out directly ahead of my truck, and I'm looking at that barn that I was facing, and in the field right there was maybe about a 3-foot high, fall fog on the ground. It was sitting on the ground, but raised up about 3 foot high, with that one little like street light right there. It looked exactly like like a scene out of The Howling. I was like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no.
No, get out of there.
Lock my doors, put my seatbelt through my doors and everything like that. Close up my curtains. I was like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
I ain't doing this again.
Yeah.
And then there was another one, because I'd mentioned this to you, Todd, and in a conversation back and forth on Messenger, was I was heading north up to South Bend one night, driving, and I'm on Highway 31 heading north, right around Rochester, up there about Highway 24 Rochester. And this night, it was a very foggy night. You know how bad the fog can be up there. You can't even see like 5 feet in front of you. So I'm only doing maybe about 30 miles an hour. Out of my lights, right toward the ground, I see what at first I thought was like a plastic bag kind of rolling. And then I started to see that there was definition of like toes. So all I seen was maybe down from the mid shin down was feet. So I sit there, I slam on my brakes because I thought this was a person walking out in front of my truck, in the middle of fog like that. And then as I'm coming up to it, and the feet start to levitate and go up. And just above my truck, just before it got my hood, and went just above my hood, then they disappeared. And I'm sitting there, I'm kind of bending over, hunching, kind of looking. And then all of a sudden, a white light had lit up my entire cab, and I saw the white light shoot off to the north. So that one was crazy. I remember calling my freaking out about that. I was like, I just saw an alien, because that's the only thing I can contribute that to.
That's what it sounds like.
Did you lose track of time or anything like that, or was it just you saw the flash and
just saw the flash and the feet levitating and whatnot, and the light shoot north. No loss of time, but I do remember freaking out because of seeing that, because I don't know anybody to be like, well, that was weird. But no, I was able to make it on up to South Bend.
Were they
like normal?
Were they normal feet? Were they just normal? Did they have shoes on and everything?
No shoes. It was barefoot, and because of the fog, I don't know if it was because of the fog or whatnot, that I could sit there and say it was gray, and I could make out toes and the definition, like the tendons in the feet and stuff like that, when you're walking. So I don't know of any person that can levitate and just like, in a coincidence of a white light and it lighting up my cab or whatnot. So I'm assuming maybe it was, I'm assuming that it was an alien that got picked back up or whatnot.
What it sounds like.
For whatever reason.
What was he doing on the highway?
That's what I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what would happen if I would have hit it or whatnot.
Oh, you should have.
Yeah, well, he could have hit the dogman too. Almost, that would have been interesting as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that maybe I should have, but then again, from my perspective, I'm trying to think about, okay, well, how am I going to explain the accident to my company or whatnot, right. The damage to the truck that's to be done to the truck.
No, I swear I hit an alien.
Yeah,
or a dogman.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you're no longer driving though.
No, I still am. I'm now a local driver. I'm home every night.
Good for you.
Just recently started doing that back in January because I was hoping to stay and retire with UPS, but I was with UPS Freight, and when they sold it off, everything went crazy on that, and with the job, and I was forced to look for another job.
No, that's no good.
Sorry. So since you've seen these things and experienced these things, did it get you into this crazy world? Or do you go out looking for Bigfoot or things at all, or what?
No, I don't really go out looking for Bigfoot or cryptids or whatnot, because at the time, At the time when I saw the dogman, I wasn't even aware of the term dogman. I was always to the term of werewolf. And then I started, listening to Coast and stuff like that, listen to hearing the other terminology and whatnot. Uh, I've always been interested in the paranormal. Now I've got a couple other stories on the paranormal side, with driving a truck. But I was going to on this one, I was going to get you guys' opinion on it. There was one night when I was driving, it was for Covenant, and I was out in Texas, somewhere backroads, Texas, and I was extremely tired. I couldn't hold my eyes open anymore. I mean, I was to the point where I was about to fall asleep at the wheel, so I was looking for the next place to pull over. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with out there on the highways out there in Texas, but they got those pavilions, like picnic areas that you can pull over and park at. Well, I found a pavilion to be able to park at. I'm the only vehicle there, not a car, not another truck. I'm the only one there. And obviously I could see a town off in the distance, but you know how that is, on the flat lands and whatnot. You see lights. It may look close, but it's really in reality like 12, 15 miles away. But I'm parked there, so I get out of so I go ahead and set my brakes, and I get out of the truck to go relieve myself. And as soon as I step out of the truck, I had this instant feeling of terror and fear and dread, like I'm not alone. Because at this time I was only really into the paranormal, not really about cryptids or whatnot. I didn't see anything, didn't have any other, but I just had this real bad feeling like, you need to get out of here. So I jumped back up and finished doing what I needed to do, jump back up in the truck and lock the doors. And each one of those pavilions are numbered out there. And I look up at the number on this pavilion. The pavilion was numbered 6666. And I'm very superstitious about the number 666. So I've always attributed it to paranormal, on the evil side or whatnot. But after listening to your guys' podcast and listening to some of the people talk about Bigfoot and dogman encounters and whatnot, that they can actually hit you with infrasound and stuff like that and cause that type of feeling. So I don't know if that might, on your perspective, if that might have been, one of those cryptids might have been nearby and, like get out of my area, or if it could have been just a paranormal incident.
I would say with that number on the building like that, I would go more toward the paranormal. I could see some weirdos going out there because of the number of the building, doing some rituals behind it or whatever.
Yeah, I've always put that I've always attributed it to the paranormal on that one. Yeah, but I just, after hearing the encounters and whatnot, I just, it didn't even cross my mind. Of course, that was also over 20 years ago when that happened.
Can you describe the feeling you're getting out of your truck? Does it hit you instantly? Like what goes through your mind?
Yeah, instantly. As soon as I opened up the door and my foot got out of the truck, it was just instant, almost like your life's in danger fear, of dread type feeling.
So yeah, like you weren't alone, like somebody was watching you.
Yeah, it's like somebody was right there. I mean, and it wasn't like that feeling like it was off in the distance type of feeling. It was like somebody was right behind you type of fear. I mean, you're looking over your shoulder, nobody there, but it feels like there's somebody right there.
Was it a heavily wooded area? Was it?
No, not at all. It just, might have been sporadic trees off in the distance or whatnot, but not that I recall. Of course, it was also 2:00 in the morning, and also too at the same time, like I said, I was extremely tired and couldn't hold. That's why I pulled over, because if I could have continued on driving, to get to a different place, if I was able to stay awake, I would have left.
Well, I'm pretty sure I would have made myself stay awake to get the hell out of there. I'll tell you that.
Well, see, and that was the amazing thing too, is even after having that type of feeling and that type of fear and dread, I was not able to wake myself up enough to be able to continue to drive just to get to a different location. So that was.
Did anything else happen that night?
No, actually, no, nothing else happened that night. It was just when I first got there. Because, like I said, I've always attributed that to the paranormal because I've always been into the paranormal and on that. But that was it on that one. That was out there. I forget where I was at in Texas, but it was somewhere out there, western Texas, when that happened. And then one of my best paranormal experiences I've ever actually had was. I can't remember. Was it 2004 that Hurricane Katrina was come through? Because I was driving locally down in Florida, and when I lived down there, I can't remember exactly what year it was. I want to say it was 2004, but it was the year that Katrina had hit because I remember Florida got hit with like 3 or 4 hurricanes back to back to back.
2005.
Yeah, okay, I was close. I can never remember.
I just looked it up.
But this year, I can't remember. It was one of the later storms, like Hurricane Jean or whatnot. But it's one of the later storms. It wasn't Katrina. But I was down in Miami delivering because at the time I was delivering bread and coming back. And as I was making my way back, Hurricane Katrina or the hurricane the outer bands were already hitting on the Florida Turnpike, and that was usually the way I would have go back because it was a faster way to get back, higher speed. So being that I was empty, it only takes a 35-mile-an-hour wind to blow a truck over, an empty truck. So I decided to go up Highway 27, go up through the Everglades. Now at this point in time, it was raining, wind. It was still pretty windy. But as soon as I'm on Highway 27, as soon as I get hit the junction where Highway 27 and 75 meet, I look over my passenger side seat, and my grandfather, who has been deceased for about 7 or 8 years at this point, and this is my mom's dad, was in my passenger side seat. Now, for the next 2.5 hours, he stayed in my truck, in my passenger side seat. I remember having a conversation the entire 2.5 hours that he was in my truck. But the only thing I remember afterwards is that he told me of our conversation he told me to tell my mom that he was okay. But the entire time, and this is crazy because I know he was there to protect me, the entire time that he was in the truck, I'm watching rain, just torrential rain from a hurricane coming down, the snodgrass blowing, just whipping from the winds, the trees blowing. No, the entire time he was in my truck, not one drop of rain hit my windshield, not one lick of wind hit my truck until I was out until I had made it up to Lake Wales, the junction of 27 and 60, when I was close enough to home. That he was that's when he had departed the truck. He had made sure that I was able to make it back home safe because I was rushing to try to help get back home because I was trying to help my dad. I was as soon as I got back and parked the truck, I was going to go to my dad's house and help my dad board up his windows. So he was making sure that I'd made it home safe. And when I got home, I sat there, and my mom, when her dad had passed and he passed away from cancer, she took it really, really hard, and she never actually got over the passing of her father. So when I got home, I sat there and I told Mom, I was like, "Hey, Mom, you need to sit down." And she's like, "Why? What's going on?" And I sat there. I told her, I was like, "Yeah, Grandpa just saved me." And she's like, she kind of had her head kind of cocked, and she was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Oh, when I got down to just what I just told you, I was like, Grandpa was in the truck with me. I was like, I had a conversation for 2.5 hours with him. And I was like, I can't remember anything he said and what the conversation we talked about for 2.5 hours, but he told me to tell you that he's okay." And that's when she just broke down and started crying. And she's like, my dad come back to save my son. That type of deal.
That gave me chills.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I totally believe you. I mean, that stuff goes on. We've heard.
Oh yeah,
I've heard
that
that
happens.
before.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that many times.
And I've heard a lot of other stories from other drivers too that they've had, that's actually kind of saved them because it scared them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They look over to see a ghost that they don't know sitting in their truck, and then they slam on their brakes and they're like, get out of my truck. And then once they get going again, 15, 20, 30 minutes later, when they get up to an area where, if they hadn't stopped, they would have been involved in an accident and killed.
Yeah, that happens all the time. More than people report, actually.
Right.
Divine intervention, is that what they call that? I don't know.
It could be.
Yeah. Well, on those aspects, yeah. And then other times, it depends. Because I've also heard stories where a truck driver is taking a curve too fast, and then he looks out his passenger side mirrors because he knows I'm going to go over because I'm going too fast for it. Looks out his window and he sees angels out there holding his truck up, keeping it from rolling over. One of my that was told to me by one of my old coworkers that happened to him. But you get a lot of crazy stories.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine.
Well, especially being on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the other crazy paranormal experiences I had out on the road too, and I totally forgot all about it until I talked to my my best friend when he was one of my old coworkers about the story that that had happened to me when we were working, and I can't remember if he ever saw it or not, but between Okeechobee and it's on Highway 441 between Okeechobee, and this is down in Florida, between Okeechobee and Yeehaw Junction. I was heading north again, only one on the road. I'm looking up it's only a 2-lane highway that I'm on, 441. And then I look out my passenger side mirror. Okay, I can see headlights in the distance, coming up behind me or whatnot. And no big deal, just traveling like normal car speed and stuff like that, and nothing out of the ordinary. I watch it, it's still gaining on me and everything like that. And I watch it all the way up to where it goes, jumps out in the left lane, the oncoming lane to go around me. So I kind of back off and whatnot, being polite, let them get the speed to be able to get around. And I'm watching this. This is the crazy thing. I watch the headlights pass me. No car, but I see headlights. I see tail lights. There is no vehicle at all. Gets back in front of me and then takes off, and it gets up, half mile, a mile, and then no longer see the lights. So I seen a ghost car pass me on the highway. The headlights were there, tail lights were there, but there was no vehicle at all.
Were they spaced apart like a car's length?
Yeah. Yeah. They were spaced out, and the way the headlights looked and whatnot. I think it was like a '57 Chevy.
Well, that's pretty good judgment. Yes, there.
Because see, the thing about it is that some of the one of those, I think that there is a story, like a '57 Chevy that had crashed on that highway or whatnot, and there had been reports of seeing a ghost '57 Chevy out there. Some people have reported that they've actually seen the car being translucent like a ghost. It just so happened to be, and the headlights matched up to it, whatnot. It just so happened to be what I saw, as I just saw the headlights and the taillights, no car though. So that was one of the other crazy ones, and I completely forgot about that until I told my buddy that I was going to be talking to you guys, and he's like, "Oh, you can tell him about that." It's like, man, I forgot all about that story because that happened 19 years ago.
Yeah, luckily you were in your vehicle when all these things were going on, right?
Yeah. Except for the one time out there in Texas when I got out to relieve myself, and then that was the time where it's just almost one of those type of fears that just makes you instantly freeze.
But you went to sleep there, nothing happened overnight?
Yeah, I went to sleep there and nothing happened. Of course, obviously, I lock my doors, and it's a little trick for truck drivers. You take your seatbelt and go through the door handle on the door, and then lock the seatbelt in, because that way, if anybody's there or whatnot, they can't open up that door. The only way that they're going to be able to get in is they're going to have to break the window and come in through the window. So that's an added safety.
You always carry in when you're driving. Back then,
I would really, really, really love to be able to carry my sidearm with me, especially now, because I deliver bread at nighttime to depots. Now there's no federal law stating that truck drivers cannot carry a weapon on the truck. It's the majority of that is company policy that prevents drivers from carrying a weapon. We can carry, and we can't even really carry. We can carry as like a little small, pocket knife or whatnot with the clip or whatnot, but that's basically it. And we can carry like a crowbar or something like that we can use to check our, we'll call them tire thumpers, to check our tires, whatnot. Right. That's basically what we're limited to be able to protect ourselves with.
So I got to ask a question here. I've always wondered about this. When you're using something to check a tire like that, when you're hitting it with the baton or whatever, what are you looking for or feeling for when you hit that tire?
I'm listening more than anything.
You're listening for something?
Well, a full tire will give you more of a solid sound when you hit it. And plus, it'll bounce back off. It's like, have you ever taken a baseball bat and hit a tire that's on the ground, like a spare tire hitting on the ground? Mm-hmm. You know how it bounces back up off the tire real quick. Mm-hmm. Well, if you got a flat tire or a low tire, it's not gonna whip back at you.
Okay.
Like that, and plus, it's gonna make a thud sound to let you know that you have a low tire, and that tire's got give to it. So that's when okay, well, do I have a flat tire? Do I have a low tire? And that's what we're checking for, is the tire pressure on that.
I wasn't sure if it was that, or how there's always tire blowouts in semis all the time. Is that just tires are getting old? Is that because they're low on air? Or what's the reason for that?
It could be. It could be a number of things. Could be a low tire. Well, a lot of times too is a lot of people don't even think. Even with regular vehicles, that's why I like with how on your cars you can actually monitor your tire pressure or whatnot. They give you the tire pressure monitor. It tells you how much air pressure is in that tire. A lot of people don't realize that when you go on road trips at nighttime, or not even at nighttime, but during the day, and especially during the summertime, is that when as you're rolling down the road, your tires will heat up, and as the tire heats up, the tire inflates with air. So if that tire is actually only max, let's say on my Jeep, then I had the maximum tire pressure that allotted for that tire was 44 pounds. Well, if you get up to 45 pounds, that tire can blow on you. So if you're watching it, so it says recommended tire pressure is 36 and normal running tire. But if you get up you watch it and you're on a long road trip, especially out west or anywhere where the sun's been beating down on the road, that tire will heat up on you. That's the same. So in the cars, that you can actually watch your tire pressure and how much pressure is in that tire. Because I've had to do that and I pull over to let air pressure out of my tires because I was building too much pressure up. We don't have those digital, well, at least nothing that I've been in, I've driven that tells the digital tire pressure in a truck. But a lot of times that's what happens, is that they'll get too much air pressure in the tire and they can explode. And also hitting like a little, like metal pieces that are metal debris in the road. Your tire catches at the right time.
Well, all right. Thanks for the lesson on semi tires. And thanks for being a driver too, man.
Yeah,
I always say this to you guys. If it wasn't for you guys,
truck drivers are important.
They really are.
Yeah,
they don't get enough credit, because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have product in the stores. We wouldn't have the bread to go buy. So
All right.
thank you for doing that, man. We appreciate that from you.
Not a problem. I wouldn't do anything else. I love doing it. Especially, I love doing nighttime because there's less traffic out on the road. I don't have to deal with.
Except for Dogman and aliens.
Bigfoot, aliens.
Yeah. Well, see, that's where I wish my company would let me carry my weapons, because now what I'm doing is I deliver bread. I go to warehouses at night, and I go down to London, Kentucky. Is one of my I do that. I go down there two nights a week. And I'm down there about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30, somewhere in there. But where I park is right next to woods, and there's nobody around. Well, London, Kentucky is about 30 miles south of Berea, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the reason why I mentioned that is because I watched the episode of These Woods Are Haunted or whatnot, and there was 3 people that got chased out of the woods by like 3 or 4 Sasquatch there in Berea.
My wife's grandmother's from Berea, believe it or not, and I've been meaning to ask her if she's seen a Bigfoot because, I've heard a lot of things go on in that area of Kentucky.
Holding out on us, Todd.
Yeah, well, I haven't got the chance yet.
Well, Jeff, let me tell you something. What your company doesn't know ain't going to hurt them, so pack a bag.
Well, and I have had that thought, and I've had a lot of people tell me that, but where I'm really, really at a risk on that is I'm not willing to necessarily risk my livelihood, because that is my livelihood. With my CDL.
Oh yeah.
Sure. So if something if any incident were ever to happen or whatnot, and they come to find out that I had a weapon on the truck, or for whatever reason, if I ever have to use it, whether it's self-defense or whatnot, that could possibly end my career. For one, I would definitely lose my job with the company, but it could possibly end my career because, with it going to another company. And I don't want to jeopardize that, especially when I'm making almost 6 figures, right around 6 figures a year. So it's,
well, all right, you put it that way.
To deliver bread? I'm going to start delivering bread.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's a good gig. You can, you're up
Plus,
in the
it's at
hours.
night, so you don't have to worry about stupid people on the road.
Yeah, you get to see crazy cryptids out on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken me a while to get up. It's taken me a while to get up to my my income. I put in a lot of years to get up there. I didn't start out making that money, but
right.
Once I have, and I'm home every day, sleeping in my bed every day.
That's another good thing about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those pros and cons, you gotta. I would absolutely, and I would carry my weapon with me at all times if I could. But I wish they would change their policy. If they change their policy,
hopefully they do. And until they do, you be safe out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we want to thank you for being here and talking to us and telling us your experience and encounters out there on the road.
Oh, not a problem.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
See something else out there, let us know what's going on.
Yeah, keep in touch.
Be safe.
Oh, I sure will.
All right, Jeff, we appreciate it again, man. Take care.
All right, you too.
Hey, Jeff, take it easy.
All right, thank you.
So what do you think? Dogman? Had to have been, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounded like to me. Nothing else fits that description.
Unless now there's a bear-dogman hybrid running around out there. A bear man.
Bear squatch, like in that commercial.
A bear squatch, yeah.
A bear squatch.
Right on, bear squatching. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, probably not. It's probably a dogman for sure.
Right on. All right, with that, we'll call this good and get out of here, my friend. What do you say?
Yep. See ya.